Aloha. My name is Justine Espiritu, and you are now entering Behind the Scenes and Beyond the Talk with TEDx Honolulu. Feel free to join us on Twitter for any questions or comments, and we'll try to address them. Our name is ThinkTech. Hi. I am the lead curator of the TEDx Honolulu Sustainability Team, and I am one of your hosts for this series.
And my name is Jennifer Killinger. I am another host for this series, and I am one of the lead curators for the interactive team at TEDx Honolulu.
And my name is Rachel Yergin. I am the productions manager for TEDx Honolulu. And to the right of me.
So let's introduce, this is our inaugural episode for this series. If you want to kind of briefly say what the purpose is.
This series is dedicated toward showcasing the volunteers, the speakers, and the community partners within the TEDx Honolulu event community. And today we have with us Genesis Leong as our guest.
Thank you.
So Genesis,
Welcome.
So Genesis is the license holder and lead curator for TEDx Honolulu. So let's just start. I'll read the mission of TEDx Honolulu, and then you can kind of get into the history of TEDx Honolulu and how it connects to the national, international TED group. So the mission of TEDx Honolulu, TEDx Honolulu seeks to produce events and programs developed by some of the best minds that Hawaii and the global community have to offer. By featuring dynamic and innovative individuals drawn from the diverse, multicultural nature of our community, our vision is to be a local forum for ideas worth spreading that inspire people to strengthen themselves, build their community, and to engage with our global community. So that's got a lot going on right there. So if you want to jump in and just give some of that history.
Sure. So I guess I'll go ahead and start off by explaining what exactly TED is. And that's the most well-known and how we've kind of emerged from that. So TED Talks is something that you usually see online. It's actually a series of conferences that are held around the world. The main conference definitely is now in Vancouver, and there are other TED conferences which include women, youth, so quite a variety. And this is what kind of derives from what it's most popular from. And so it started back in the 80s, and the TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. So it's not necessarily a person's name, but just the fact that it was aimed to bring together these industries, so technology, entertainment, and design, and how we could collaborate and move ourselves forward in our industries. And then, of course, it got larger, and in 2009, the popularity with it and the interest actually started a new kind of branch off from the TED. So it was the TEDx, and the X stands for independently organized. And what this really did was give an opportunity for people in their regions and their countries and their cities to actually create TED-like events. And so that's where we kind of derived from. We took the call in 2009 and have been running nice and strong since then.
Okay, so when it started out nationally, the first one was in LA, or?
No, so in 2009, there were actually a variety of different cities that took the call to action. And it just so happened that we did have one person who led that call, which is Nins Falafine, and she brought it here to Hawaii, and it's kind of moved its way down, not down, but up, and kind of blossomed to what it is today.
So what is the difference between the TED Talks on that large stage and the TEDx events?
Definitely, yeah. So the real difference is the platform is the same. Well, we do the conferences the same, and the biggest difference is who's driving it. So if you would like to host a TEDx event, you actually have to apply to TED and be approved and accepted for it. And then you basically organize it because
basically
organize it.
Yeah. You do everything, and it just
Right.
happens.
Yeah,
That's the easy part, right?
right. Well, the first step.
So how many TEDx are there now? Like like every city?
Yeah, good question. I want to say since 2009, they've had about 12,000 TEDx events around the world. So
In how many cities?
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah,
Okay.
good question. But definitely about 12,000 events around the world since 2009.
So would all of these events be like the main events? Like what our most recent event was Paradigm Shift at UH Manoa's Campus Center on March 28th. So that is what we consider our main event. In other locations around the globe that have these TEDx events, would they be something similar to that? Or are those 12,000 events also containing the smaller events like the salons that we
Right.
had leading up to the main event?
Yeah, definitely. So similar to like the TED conference, there is the main conference, and then there are a break-offs of whether it's the TED Women or the TED Youth or the TED. There's a medical health one as well. So there's a variety of different types of TED. And so when it comes to the TEDx's, it's quite similar to that. There are different types of licenses and events. Whether it derives from being a library or if it's the large kind of annual event with it, which is the TEDx Honolulu, or a youth event or a university event. So quite a lot of different types of TEDx events. So with TEDx Honolulu in general, it's based off of having the TED Light conference and bringing together different industries and different ideas. And so you're having kind of this nice mix of industries communicating. When it gets a little bit more specific, such as the university or the women, then it is specifically targeted towards those areas. So that's where, we came from.
So do we have any other events here in Honolulu besides the main TEDx Honolulu?
Within our license with TEDx Honolulu, we have hosted a variety of different other events. So the TEDx Honolulu, which is, like I mentioned, kind of a diversity of mix of different industries. And then we also have the salon event, which is a smaller type of event. And that one's specifically targeted towards having less speakers, so usually about 3 speakers, and more of an engaging conversation, so different type of experience than the larger event. We've also hosted TEDx Honolulu ED or ED, which we pretty much worked with high school students. So that one's specifically focused towards education for the future.
And then again, just to kind of recap, or the general format is there's 3 speakers or 12 speakers, and they have 5 minutes, anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes to do their presentation. So real simple format, but it can take such a variety of ways of presenting it and engaging. So why don't, you mentioned some of those specific types of events. I joined in 2013, and so maybe if you could recap the past from 2012 to now, the events we had, where we had them, and those themes.
Right. So as of today, we've hosted a total of 12 events, and they all kind of mix from the TEDx Honolulu, TEDx Salon, TEDx Ed event. And so I've been involved since 2011. However, in 2013, I basically took over the entire show. For me, it was really figuring out how can we organize something that brings more awareness to Hawaii, and that's what really brings my interest to it. It's actually an event that brings together not just attendees who are interested. It brings together volunteers or organizers who want to make a difference in our community and help out. It brings in speakers that we would never have come across because we're so busy in our own lives. And then, of course, it brings in partners that who also want to contribute in another way.
Cool. And what ways do the partners and the volunteers and the speakers, like how does that culminate together to produce the large event? Because without those partnerships, they bring so much to the table. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put on these events.
Right.
So how does that kind of produce the effects that we're going for with the events?
And I think what's really great about the TEDx is that we are creating TED-like events, right? So the same thing, we'll have the platform where we have speakers, engaging conversations, and then, of course, ultimately, we will videotape and then put them up online. So that's where, when we talked, going back to the mission statement, when we talked about the global community, that's where it comes in. Because now it's not just having a awareness of what's happening in Hawaii here, but also outside. And so I'm hoping that we can bring more awareness and that people are interested and people want to contribute to the conversation. We need all four to make the event work out. And so we're continuously reaching out. With the event, I think people are inspired and they want to come back and they want to help. We have an amazing collection of volunteers and organizers who are organizing their time just like myself because we're passionate about it. And so that's when you know that you want to be a part of something even more. It's when you're willing to do something for free because you believe in it. So, and I think that's what really energizes me, and I'm extremely grateful that we have people who are like-minded, who want to be able to help out each other. And that's where, when we talk about community, that's where community comes from. We can come together and help each other.
Yeah, I definitely think most people have that desire to participate and contribute to something, and I think what's important is people stepping up to create those opportunities and those options. Something like TEDx Honolulu is something you could specifically tell someone, this is how you can get involved, this is how you can learn what's going on, this is how you can have a reach globally. And then so all the speakers that have participated in the salon events and the main events, those have been filmed and they are put on the TED website, or?
Yeah, so we have, 12 events we've hosted. We've had about, I think 72, or no, actually we have 90, a little bit over 90 speakers now that we've hosted. We have, of course, our Facebook page, which we're continuously putting information out, our Twitter, the TEDx Honolulu, Instagram, which we're getting more on there, and of course the YouTube channel, and that's where everything's archived. All of our past speakers, entertainers, performers, and that's where we'll continue to kind of grow.
Yeah, we have our website, TEDxHonolulu.org, and all that social media stuff. But again, what I'm stoked about is that we are connected to that national stage, and you know, Hawaii, we're this small remote island, but having this connection with TEDx, it gets out there. Like you said, we've had 90 speakers that are from our community that are now out there, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting, and I think with the other TEDx's, it's the same thing too. We do want to showcase and highlight what we have here in our community. And so I feel like we still are searching for those diamonds in the roughs, or the people that we just don't know what. It's so amazing how small we are, but yet we're so separated in a way that it's really nice when we can just kind of merge together, find out, meet each other, and network. And then, of course, because we have a diversity of different topics that we talk about, when the speakers go on stage, whether it's like a 5 or the 18-minute talk is actually the maximum of time that you can have, it's being able to express your idea in a way that everybody can understand. So sometimes that can be the biggest challenge, is asking speakers to make their talks smaller and more diverse and open.
Well, that brings up another point that later in the series we're gonna focus on. One element that's unique about TEDx is for the salon and the main events, they get trained by a speaker trainer. So again, we have these folks that have ideas in our community, and we're giving them this platform to present it, but then we also assist them in articulating that carefully, and that's
so they don't have
concisely
to be
and yeah.
They don't have to be perfect when they come to us. We can help them to develop what their topics are and how they want to present that on that global scale.
So again,
stage.
it's a like community thing, not just, okay, you want to talk? All right, see you in a month.
Right.
Meet you there.
If you have a good
Right.
idea, we can work with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, and then just to kind of give some back, what are some examples of the topics and speakers?
Yeah, so this year we had Paradigm Shift. That was on March 28th, 2015. It's an all-day event. Lots of fun. And yeah, we had amazing speakers. And I know a lot of them will be coming on the show so they can talk a little bit more about who they were, what they did. A total of 12 different talks that we had on stage. And I think we'll continue to have probably about that much amount. And when we come to the salons, they're always a lot smaller, so maybe 3 speakers.
Okay, cool. So that gives us some background. So I think we're going to take a short break, and then we'll get into a little more in depth of how it's a really unique event that's worth showcasing. So thanks.
Inspired by an ancient culture, classical Chinese dance, vigorous physicality, timeless stories, 5,000 years of Chinese music and dance, Shen Yun presents authentic Chinese culture. Coming to Blaisdell Concert Hall, May 8th and 9th. Tickets at shenyun.com or call 808-792-3919.
Here's the deal. I'm Jay Fidel. I'm the host of Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, which is the Energy Policy Forum's program on Wednesday. That's how we call Wednesday Energy Wednesday. We call it Energy Wednesday every Wednesday. Are you surprised? Okay, and we try to get guys like Jim Alberts here from Hawaiian Electric who can tell us what's really going on in energy. We want to be informed. It's so important. It's the most important initiative in our state. Clean energy is major, okay? And that's how we cover it on this show. That's the deal. What do you think, Sharon?
I think that's great. That's why we're here every Wednesday from 4 to 5, and we hope you all join us so we can hear people like Jim coming on our show and co-host Ray Starley from Hawaii Energy.
Okay, Jim, you've been here today. You've seen this. You heard what she said. What do you think?
I think it's a tremendous opportunity for people to come together and talk about the issues. Oftentimes there isn't a good forum to bring these key issues out into the public, and this is a tremendous way to go about it. And the activity of this show is essential to keep talking about energy because, as you said, it's such an essential part of our lives that we need to pay attention to it and we need to think about the future.
Okay, Ray, your turn.
Well, this is a special time in the history of Hawaii where we're making some pretty radical changes in the way we use energy and generate energy. And this show is the one place you can count on coming to every Wednesday and hearing something about the latest issues that are on the table, being discussed, that will affect us all going forward. So come join us, and if you have some ideas you want to share with us about energy, give us a call and let us know. We'll put you up here and let you talk for an hour. So come see us.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Jim. It's great to be, from ThinkTech's point of view, it's great to have this show. We love the show. It's our most important show. So come around and listen to us 4 to 5 on Wednesday. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Welcome back to Behind the Scenes and Beyond the Talk with TEDx Honolulu. We're starting our new series that's based on showcasing the volunteers, speakers, and community partnerships of TEDx Honolulu. And now we're going to discuss the actual experience of coordinating these great events. So Rachel, can you tell a little bit about how you became the volunteer or what the process was of applying, just the general overview?
Well, I heard that we had a TEDx Honolulu a few years ago, and I got really excited about it, and I thought I didn't have the time, but I love TED so much, and so I thought I've got to just see what's going on, and so I went to the first volunteer meeting, and the beautiful thing about the TEDx Honolulu, and perhaps all of the TEDx's, is that you can take as much or as little responsibility as you want. So I ended up in a leadership role simply because Genesis is such a great leader and able to kind of place people where they fit best. But also the beautiful thing about it is you can go and volunteer where you specifically want, but also you can kind of learn about other things that maybe you weren't interested in. You kind of cross-train a lot, if you will. You work with other teams, and then, so I started out with the interactive team, which I still do help with, and ended up with the productions team. And So you can take a leadership role or you can take a day of only role and anything in between. So it's really incredible experience that way, very unique.
And it differs from other volunteer experiences because this one is not something that you just show up and do your job and you know, have a specific set, you only do this. This is like, as a volunteer, we are all really involved in selecting what it is that we want to do. How do we want the event to even turn out? You know, it's not that everything's planned out and we come in and just do little things. It's what do we actually want to do, and then going about producing those parts of the event. I find that to be incredibly different from other volunteer experiences I've done.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've done a lot of volunteering of just like you said, like showing up the day of, but you know, when you look back at this mission statement and we want to showcase ideas and community, what I've seen that's unique about TEDx Honolulu is that role that the volunteers play in shaping it, and we get to showcase for ourselves, you know, ideas of leadership and taking an initiative and creating your own, either whether it's creating your own team or creating your own side project. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what volunteer teams there are and maybe how the different ones came about, how those formulated, and how that whole, for you, managing hundreds of volunteers, how that's kind of evolved and maybe alleviated some work for you or created more.
Right. Yeah. So I've done so many volunteer positions just everywhere, and it's always so gratifying when you can give back to your community in one way or another. And I think when it came to TEDx Honolulu, I wanted to create like a different type of volunteer experience. And so the volunteer experience was really, how do we not just you know, ask people to be a part of this, but how can we help them in return, right? And I think when it comes to volunteering, it's getting the experience and then also the opportunity to grow as a leader. And when you kind of have that support and someone who believes in you, it's just amazing what you're able to do. And of course, we're all volunteers just like myself, so we're always trying to push the envelope, do what we need to do, but also be as creative as possible. And that's where things blossom and we discover ourselves more. Yeah, so that's kind of the way that I saw the volunteer experience, was creating something completely different rather than me telling you what to do. It was coming up with a great idea and sitting down and let's brainstorm a way to make this happen. And in many cases, it's just projects from volunteers have gone above and beyond anything that I could ever imagine. So I'm really grateful for that. When it comes to the event itself, and most people know in organizing a program or event, how much work goes into this. It's so hard to explain. And when you're sitting in the chairs and watching the talks, you're like, wow, this is really great. But in the background, we're running around like crazy because there's so much work that has to be done. And so when you're at an event and you realize, wow, that looks pretty easy, you know that everyone's done their job. And so it takes an entire team to make this happen. And so for that, it means creating teams that deal with the registration, or whether it was teams dealing with the promotions, the communications, a team with the productions area, or of course, bringing on other components of teams that might be different from any other conference that you've been to. So for example, with Justine and the sustainability team, it was actually creating a team of people who were specifically focused on making the event a different type of experience through making it become sustainable and green. And then the same thing with the interactive. It was also creating a team that helped to engage our attendees either with each other or the speakers with each other. And you know, those are a few different types of teams that we've had. And of course, the last type of new team that I brought in was the scholarship team. So it was creating a scholarship to attend program, which would allow people to come to the event even though they may or may not have the money to do so.
Incredible.
Okay. Maybe again, back to some examples of the themes that we've had for our events and some of the speakers that we've had on?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess going back to this event, because it was so recent, the paradigm shift, and the themes always come about in a way of, because it is a mix or diversity of industries and people, that the theme has to be kind of set that way, and so that it could be a call to pretty much anybody to come by. This year the theme was paradigm shift, and just like the scientific term that comes to it, it's really taking things to another level or seeing things in another way. And so that's really was where that aha moment kind of was pretty consistent when we went out. The paradigm shift to me was that aha moments that we have. And so how these industries made these aha moments. And so, like, for example, we had Hayden Atkins, who did like a bike power, and he'll talk more about that within the next week or so. And Shane Robinson, who was a speaker, actually, the Artist in Residence program, and that's the first that we brought on this year, and that's also will be spoken about a little bit more. Patrick Sullivan, who is a president at OceanNet. We also have Don Lippert, who is also part of the Energy Accelerator. And so, yeah, the list kind of goes on and on.
And how do we even go about picking these speakers?
Yeah, good question. And so, a few ways that we go about. Of course, we research a little bit more into communities, see speakers that do fit the theme the best. And then in addition to that, we also do a call out to speakers. It's a lot harder and more work actually for us to do this, but it really is the way that we can discover who is who here in Hawaii. If we just went on and we had a black book of people of I know this person, they're going to be a speaker. I know this person, they're going to be a speaker. And of course, it could be set up that way. But with the call out to speakers, it was allowing us to reach out into our community to see who was interested in becoming a speaker or nominating a speaker, for example. And then in addition to that, it was going through a lengthy process of applications, doing interviews.
I mean, there's the whole audition
And
process.
the audition
It's not
process.
just, hey, invitation to speak. It's like, do you want to audition and kind of
Right.
pitch your idea?
And it's really great. It's really amazing actually, because we get so many applications that come in, and the more that we have these auditions, the more that I realize that this is a need, because there are so many wonderful people out there. It's always a challenge, for the auditions, because we have to go from about 90 down to about 11 speakers. So that's always a challenge. But I do urge people to, continue to apply and submit. And we've had 12 events, and we'll have many more.
And
Yeah,
then
and you
this-
can. Oh, sorry.
the speakers that often don't get chosen the first time around, they reapply and they get chosen again. So just because they were not chosen for the first event that they applied for, they should keep applying,
Definitely.
keep auditioning.
Definitely.
And a lot of the topics you're able to kind of use the same speakers, because like last year's was cultivating community. It was an amazing topic and a great conference. And then this year's, and what was the year before that?
The year before that was, we had 2011, It's About Time, and then 2012, it was actually a call out to TEDx's to do a City 2.0 type event.
Aloha.
Which is what makes up a community and how these different areas actually are able to do it within our own communities. Yeah.
Wow, neat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of TEDx Honolulu, is that it engages our community, but also our global community. So it's really affects everyone.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that kind of gives us an idea of how this is really unique, and we're going to get more in depth as we do this whole series. We're going to take a quick break and then kind of go back to maybe how each of us got involved and kind of our more specific personal connection to it. Okay, thanks.
Aloha, I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroots Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Brent or somebody tweet us.
Aloha and welcome back to Behind the Scenes and Beyond the Talk with TEDx Honolulu. Again, I'm your host, Justine.
And I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is our guest, Genesis.
So we're going to take kind of this last segment to just get a little more in depth of what specifically drove you into it. We've kind of touched the surface of it, but if you want to just jump in there again.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I think for me, it really is, I've always been a volunteer for one way or another my whole life. So it's something that I'm used to doing. But I think what really interested me this time around is the fact that the platform has pretty much been set, right? And I kind of saw that as an opportunity to be able to showcase who we have and what we're doing here in Hawaii, and being able to spread that word not only through our network but also through our global community. And so for me, it's kind of really inspiring to be able to organize and meet people and be able to help each other as well. And so it's kind of like an addiction of wanting to do more and more. And it's been really amazing. When I took the call for the license to take it over, I felt like it was a really crazy move, but it was a great thing to do. And then what I ended up doing was going to the TED conferences. I went to a few of the TED conferences and I met other TEDx organizers. And I realized there's just as many crazy organizers as there are me. So that also kind of inspires a little bit more. And it gives me an opportunity to be able to brainstorm and learn from each other as well.
Cool, awesome.
Great.
Well, I got started. I had recently graduated college and I was looking for what to do next. I didn't have a job yet. I wasn't using my degree yet. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't even know that TEDx existed. But there was a meetup that was geared toward finding volunteers. And so I showed up with a friend. And it was for the one that I have the shirt for today, the Cultivating Community 2013 event. And I just fell in love with the whole movement. I was really amazed by how many people were there and wanting to be a part of it. And then the different teams, and they, you got to join a team, and you didn't have to just pick one. You could join a couple. So I did the interactive and sustainability. And then with, like what Genesis was talking about a minute ago, how this isn't just something that she tells us what to do. She's going to empower us to make decisions ourselves. And so I was able to come up with an activity that included sustainability and interactivity, and develop that over the planning period time, and then present it during the events on the day of, during the intermission periods. And it kind of started to click that it was like, okay, I am a part of this. I'm not just doing what I'm told. I'm actually doing, I'm going to invent what I'm going to do. And to me, that was, it's taken, 2 years now that I've been involved with TEDx Honolulu. It's taken that long for me to really click. Like there's so much that I can do, and I'm not limited by anything. We have this person who is telling us yeah, you can do that. How can we make it happen? There's no no's. We're not being told, no, you can't do that. That doesn't sound, it's like, okay, how could we do that? And so it's an amazing volunteer experience.
Yeah, I heard about, this was the first event I joined, Cultivating Community, as well in 2012, and To me, it was all about the peer pressure of other people that were involved. Were like, hey, this is a great opportunity. I was working on bike share, and Samantha Hudson was like, can you do this bike valet project with me? I'm like, sure. And slowly she got me in, Link more, and now accidentally I'm leading the sustainability team. But again, you know, I'm really interested in how people engage and shape our communities and our environment, and how people are involved in that process kind of outside of the political process. I'm really fascinated by democracy, but which seems kind of not connected, but it is, because this experience, making this event and bringing in the leaders in our community to kind of share their ideas, and to kind of really, the goal is to rethink of how we do things and how things happen in our community, as well as having then this opportunity to lead this team and be creative and take some initiative. I've been excited of how can I get other organizations in our community that are out there leading and doing positive things, how can I reel them in, and we can all kind of use these events to showcase not only the speakers that we're featuring, not only the volunteers, but loop in showcasing and featuring our other community leaders just as much as possible and making it fun.
Well, I think one very interesting testament to the capabilities that you have as a volunteer is you saying that you basically started by being dragged into one little ancillary project, and now you've taken us from last year, that was, you said 2012, but it was 2013. And so now this year, I think that we are the #1 green, aside from an actual green company. Aren't we the #1 green conference in Hawaii? Thanks to you. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think we have to say #1.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can start and you can stay there. You can, okay.
No,
I think that's just a great testament to the capabilities that you have as a volunteer.
So yeah, again, it was having that opportunity to see what else is going on in our community, what are other people doing, and being connected and linked in with DBED, who has the Green Business Program that certifies restaurants, events, businesses, etc. And you know, they have this checklist of how can you be more green, and I just took that opportunity, like, hey, let's collaborate with these people and, you know, share ideas, share lessons learned, and yeah, that's been fun and a great bonus for us to be able to say, yeah, we think about this kind of thing. And I think we've talked about it before, like you said, we're not necessarily a sustainability focused event, but that idea that we're
just as sustainable as any sustainability event.
Well, the idea of trying to just ingrain that into the process. And I think we all know when you trying to make things more green or sustainable, oh, it's more expensive, it's more complicated, you have to be, you know, you want to try to source locally, and this, I think we've been able to kind of showcase that that can be done even if you have a budget, even if you have a time constraint, even if it's all volunteer based. I've been excited to see how, oh, we can totally do this, and hopefully other events can see as well. Like, it doesn't have to be something that we're about sustainability, it's just this natural thing. Like, yeah, now we have this checklist, now we have this policy, this protocol of how to just bring that in. And so it's just been a great additive of how this event that's about presenting these speakers, it just has all these other elements of just how we do things in our community.
Exactly, and it's that excitement and that you know, empowerment that create this amazing volunteer experience.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's what makes this a unique event of why we're doing this series. You know, for me, I know, or most of us know, like the back end volunteer part, and it's going to be really exciting to bring on all the speakers where, like we said, there's kind of a time constraint when they do their talks. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So this series, we're going to be able to allow them to give kind of the subtext and dive deeper into their specific ideas and their specific industries, and how that is an idea worth spreading, and how that is an important thing in our community. So I'm excited to get to explore that more, and as well as bring on some of our community partners that have helped to make it happen. And I'm excited to see from that kind of corporate side of how they can participate in things in the community in a meaningful way and in a unique way.
Yeah, and continue the dialogue, because one thing that's really important to Genesis that I really appreciate is the conference is really important and amazing, and it creates all these ideas and generates all this excitement, which is very infectious, but it's taking that beyond. Like, how can we take this great idea and how can we turn it into an action? You know, how can it be actionable? How can we turn this into an actual thing that's, that we're doing in this community or the world, instead of just an idea that's great, but what's the next step? So that's really cool, and this is a great platform for that too, to kind of continue that dialogue. So.
Yeah, so the speakers don't just come and give one talk and then disappear into obscurity. It's that we want to, give them a platform to present more of what they have to talk about. When they develop their talks, they're limited to a specific area. And when we do things like this, and I also have my own TV show, 21.3 Degrees North, so we can develop wider ranges of reach for them.
So that kind of wraps up the time we have today, but excited to say we are the three hosts, myself, Justine, Jennifer, and Rachel. So we will be back every Thursday, bringing in new people that are involved behind the scenes and be on the talk of TEDx Honolulu. So
See you next time.
Thanks. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.